How's it going, everybody? Sean from LUMIX USA here, and today we're going to have a quick little video talking about some of the cool features that you find in the LUMIX cameras that are very unique to our system. Some of those are going to include the live view composite functionality, which we've talked about before, high-resolution shot mode and handheld high-resolution shot, as well as hybrid zoom, which is the newer feature added in with the LUMIX S9. So let's take a look at my S5 Mark II and my S9 and walk through those features. All right, so we are out here overlooking downtown Austin, and we're going to use this location as an opportunity to show you two of the main points that I want to talk about today. First is the hybrid zoom functionality, which I have the Sigma 60 to 600 millimeter attached to my S9 here. And the other is going to be the high resolution shot mode. So both of these are going to be able to, kind of demonstrate with this really, really long reach how the tools within our cameras are really beneficial to those photographers and also the videographers. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at here is on the hybrid zoom functionality. So as I mentioned, I have my S9 here hooked up with the Sigma 60 to 600 millimeter lens, which gets you in a full frame size 60 to 600 millimeter lens. But our hybrid zoom functionality enables you to extend that lens much, much further. And it'll depend on what area you're recording in. If you're going to be recording as a stills capture, or if you're doing this in a video functionality. Now we're sitting here and we have the hybrid zoom functionality set up demo for the S9 here. And we're going to reframe this a little bit. I'm going to get the autofocus point right in the center. I'm going to lock my tripod down. So what we're doing here is we're going to show how to get into hybrid zoom. So to start with, we're going to go into the camera menu. Then we're going to go into the photographic options, since we're talking about photo first. And we're going to go down to the second to last page, which you'll see an option for hybrid zoom. Now in this case, I already have it on, but what you would do is go into this menu option, go down into set, and you'll have a couple of different options here. You'll have the various focal length settings, whether or not you want this effect to be working at the wide angle lens, which if you're in ultra wide angle lenses, you probably don't want to be running it. And then you have your image size, as well as if you want to lock it to a set image size. So we're going to leave this as you see it here. So we're going to leave effect at wide angle on, and we're going to go into focal length display settings. Now what focal length display settings does is this will tell you, do you want to see the focal length in a composite accounting, or do you want to see it as a plus crop magnification? All this does is it tells you, based on the focal length that the lens is at, do you want to show it as a final number or as the actual focal length times a certain number value for the magnification. So we're going to leave this as composite focal length. So now what you'll see here is that as I said, I'm on a 60 to 600 millimeter lens, and if I start zooming this lens in, you'll see that that number is rapidly increasing. We're at 335, we're at a little over 600, and the lens is only physically at the little over 300 millimeter range. Now if I reposition this, so we're focusing right on that building construction there. Now if I bring this all the way to 600 millimeter, you'll see that we're at 1,875 millimeter for the field of view. This is a huge amount of reach. And if I zoom all the way back out, you'll see just how far of a reach that is from the position I'm at. Now, what does this lens look like without the hybrid zoom turned on? Well, if I go in and I turn hybrid zoom off, and we return back to the shooting menu, now we're at 60, and if I start to bring this in, you'll see 600 millimeter only brings us to about there. So it is a substantial punch in, especially for photography, where you may really need that ultra long reach. Think things like photographing the moon. Now, the other cool thing about this is, since we are in the photo mode, let's switch over to the video mode. So right now we are set in the video mode, and ignore the actual exposure settings. This is so I can at least be able to show you how this works. Right now we are in the 3.8K open gate option on this camera. And what you'll see here is that while I have the hybrid zoom turned off, when I make my zoom, I can go all the way out to 600 millimeter in the 3:2 ratio for open gate light. Now if I go back into 60 and then go into the menu, now this will be in a similar position, so it'll be under the camcorder icon, and it'll be on the last page for this option. We'll go to hybrid zoom and we will turn this on. Now you'll see in the top right, you'll see a new little icon called HYZ. It's just indicating that you are on hybrid zoom. And from here, let's zoom all the way in as far as we can with hybrid zoom active. And you'll see in open gate light, I can get to about 929 millimeter. Now I mentioned that this changes based on resolution. So if we go back out to 60 on this lens, and I go in and let's change the recording resolution to a standard MOV format. And let's change the actual recording resolution down to 1080p. Now this is going to get you the farthest reach that you possibly can. So we still have hybrid zoom enabled. We are at 1080p. And the cool thing is you'll notice as I make this zoom, look at how much farther this goes. This goes into that 1875 millimeter. So you have a ton of flexibility as far as what kind of resolutions you want to record at and how much zoom you actually want to be able to work with. All right, so as you can see, we have been able to show off, the kind of the hybrid zoom functionality, how much extra reach you actually get when you use this feature on the S9. Now, that kind of lends perfectly right into the high resolution shot mode. Now, high resolution shot mode is that extra function that we've added in with a number of our cameras, and even done through firmware update for handheld high resolution shot, which allows you to use the sensor's stabilization effect to increase the resolution that you get from the 24 megapixel, in this case, full frame sensor. Now this is applicable to the Micro Four Thirds cameras as well. So if you have an original G9, you'll know that you have up to 80 megapixel, which is based on tripod. And then on the G9 Mark II and GH7 and GH6, you have up to 100 megapixels. So let's actually take a look through this system here and show you how to enable it and what you're going to expect as you go to use this function. All right, so let's actually take a look at the high resolution shot mode and how this works. So what you're going to do on the S9 is on the back of the camera, you'll be able to press down on the directional pad and you'll see the option for high resolution mode. In this case, it shows handheld high resolution because that's what I was using it before last. Now, if I press up on the directional pad, I will have options to go into the menu to change off whether I want to use that handheld high resolution mode or if I want to stick to the tripod based. Now for this demonstration, because I'm on a tripod, I'm going to turn handheld off. And then what we'll see here is you have a couple other options. You have things like combined picture quality, the picture size, simultaneously recording normal shot, shutter delay, and then motion blur processing. Now, since I don't have my phone hooked up to the S9 for the remote trigger, I'm going to leave this with a 2-second shutter delay. And then I'm going to go into motion blur processing, and we're going to change this to number 2. What this will do is this will cancel out motion that happens in the image when it's going to stitch those together. The other options here I'm going to leave as normal, so I want a normal 24 megapixel shot as well as the high res that I'm capturing. And then I want this to be the full 96 megapixel. Now, combined for picture quality, this allows you to either use what the camera is normally set to, or to independently select whether or not you want RAW and JPEG, or RAW only, or JPEG only, specifically for high res. So in this case, I'm going to leave it on combined. And from here, I can just either back press out or press the shutter button, and I'm back into my recording mode. Now, all you have to do here is half press the shutter to focus, click the shutter, and now we wait the 2 seconds for the trigger to work, and now it's creating the high resolution image. Now, what's cool about this is that this is being done in camera. You are not having to use external software for this. This is done all in one step within the camera. If for some reason the high resolution shot mode fails to create the image, you'll get a notification that says high resolution shot failed, and then you can try again. This can be a number of factors. Either there's too much motion in the frame, if you're shooting out at, say, this ultra long telephoto range of 600 millimeter, where maybe you've got a lot of environmental or heat haze in the distance. That can cause some challenges with high resolution shot, but ultimately you should be pretty well set when you're working with this mode. So that pretty much covers high resolution shot mode. Now, again, the coolest thing here is that this is on our S9. It's on our entire full frame series of cameras, the S5, the S5 Mark II, the S5 Mark IIX. It's even in the G9 Mark II, GH6, and GH7. So you have a number of options available to you to work with the high resolution shot mode. Now the last one that we're going to do, we're going to have to time skip to maybe a little bit later tonight when I can do this and show you some of the star images that you can capture with Live View Composite. The last feature we're going to look at here is the Live View Composite, as you can see. Now you can find Live View Composite by going into the menu, into the main camera settings, and the last page option for Live Composite. From here, you just press Start, and now it's going to set a base exposure for the brightest parts of the image you want, and then all you have to do is actually press the shutter button and the image will start building, as you can see here. Now, there are a couple of things that you want to kind of pay attention to with Live Composite. You can see at the beginning of this particular frame, there's a slight misalignment of the first frame or the first couple of frames and the continuing trails as they build. This is because the platform that I had the tripod on was not the most stable, so as I walked away from the camera, there was some movement in the frame itself. The other thing that you want to really be aware of with this particular option is that it is very time consuming. We know that. This is really a mode to compress a really long exposure into a single shot. So if I wanted to bring the trees out of the frame behind, I would have to paint them in with light and then kind of judge based on how I want the overall exposure to look. But you'll see here in a moment the final image that I captured with the light trails all in camera in a singular image. So with that, thank you for tuning in today, and I look forward to talking to you all next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time here on LUMIX Live.